Mark Zuckerberg just walked into a Los Angeles courthouse, and this isn't just another softball congressional hearing. This is a real trial with real consequences that could cost big tech billions of dollars. Parents who lost children to social media addiction are seeking justice. And when reporters asked Zuckerberg if he had a message for grieving families, he stayed completely silent. The question is, what's he really hiding? So this trial isn't just about one billionaire's liability. It's about whether Silicon Valley elites can be held accountable for deliberately addicting our children. We're talking about algorithms designed to hook kids, internal documents showing they knew the harm they were causing, a pattern of putting profits over protecting American families. And if these parents win, it could trigger a cascade of lawsuits that fundamentally change how social media operates forever. But here's a political angle. This is happening in California with a California jury. While Democrats have spent years protecting their big tech donors, I wonder how this is going to go. The Instagram CEO claimed he's balancing addiction risks with free speech rights. But whose free speech are we really protecting here? It's definitely not the conservative side, guys. We get blacklisted all the time. But speaking of accountability and what's really driving power behind the scenes, we have breaking tonight. While Wall Street fixates on gold, silver, and headline commodities, there's a strategic metal quietly driving defense policy, military procurement, and geopolitical planning behind the scenes. It's not flashy, and most investors never discuss it. But governments and defense contractors are stockpiling it for critical infrastructure projects. This isn't speculation, it's strategic national security positioning. While everybody's debating big tech's influence, smart money understands that real power comes from controlling the materials that build our defense systems, our power grids, and advanced manufacturing. The question isn't whether you should know about this, it's whether you can afford not to. And SAGA Metal provides exclusive access to these strategic opportunities that government insiders and defense contractors already fully understand. We're going to get back to Zuckerberg's day of reckoning in California. But here's what the mainstream media does not want to tell you guys. This trial is exposing internal Meta documents that show they knew exactly how addictive their platforms were for children. They're not stupid. They designed it this way. We're not talking about accidental harm. We're talking about deliberate design choices to maximize engagement from the developing minds. The legal expert called this a bellwether case, which means if these parents win, thousands more lawsuits could follow. And Zuckerberg's silence when asked about grieving families tells you everything you need to know. Let's go ahead and get into this insanity. All right, so do you guys know, like Cocomelon on YouTube, or there's some shows on YouTube, they cut a scene every 4 seconds or every 4 to 6 seconds. And that's because children's attention span lags after about 7 seconds. 7 to 10 seconds is when a 1-year-old to 5-year-old attention span phases out. So if you have a cut scene every 3 to 7 seconds, cutscene. It keeps the children engaged. And that's why those shows are so addictive to these kids. It's the same thing with social media. We get these little dopamine hits all day. You put up a picture, you get a like, you get a comment. Oh, it makes you feel good about yourself. Do you like my glasses? Don't like the glasses. What's going on? You constantly get these dopamine hits, and it's designed to do that. Let's see what happens. From Mario Newafall, the masks have come off, and is anybody surprised? Let's see. Actually, you know what? We're going to get to that one in a bit. That's a breaking story, and I want to close it off with that one. My apologies. But on CBS Morning, Meta CEO Zuckerberg will testify on Wednesday in a civil case about kids and social media. And Zuckerberg denies allegations that Instagram is designed to be addictive and that kids are not protected. But let's see what they have to say.
Mark Zuckerberg will be grilled before a jury in this landmark trial that's asking whether Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook and YouTube owned by Google, put profits over users' safety. And what Zuckerberg says today and the eventual verdict will impact scores of other lawsuits nationwide.
Today in Los Angeles, Facebook co-founder and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is taking a stand before a jury to defend his company. The plaintiff, a woman with the initials KGM, alleges that Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube were intentionally designed to be addictive, with infinite scrolling, autoplay, and recommendation algorithms.
She died because they kept feeding her the content nonstop.
Lori Schott's 18-year-old daughter, Annalie, died by suicide. Schott is suing Meta and 3 other companies in a separate lawsuit over what she says her daughter was exposed to.
Her algorithms were changed, and it would start sending her content that said, here's a gun and 2 bullets. Why don't you take your life? All your pain will be gone.
Zuckerberg's testimony is likely to focus on how his platforms protect users. The defense has argued that mental health issues, not the platform's designs, have influenced plaintiffs. Melody Dinshar is a tech lawyer at UCLA.
There have been comparisons that this trial is the new big tobacco trial. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's a very apt comparison. A trial like this one will hopefully uncover the disconnect between what companies say publicly to drive up business and engagement and what is actually going on behind the scenes.
In a statement to CBS News, Meta says it strongly disagrees with the allegations, citing their commitment to supporting young people with built-in protections. YouTube's parent company Google says the allegations in these complaints are simply not true. But for some parents, any verdict will be too little, too late.
We all need to take a stand against this because these algorithms can change so quickly and take children down places that they can never crawl out of.
The plaintiff in this LA case also sued the parent companies of Snapchat and TikTok. They settled out of court. And many affected parents and former teen users, they're just looking for changes to how the platforms are operating here and potentially a social media ban for younger users if they win this case.
I know if you're in your feels, you're on TikTok or something like that, or you're scrolling Facebook at Reels or whatever, and you're in your feels and you watch one video that's a little bit too long, that's your entire feed for the next 3 days. It's like, oh, help with this, help with that, talk about this, and it's all whatever you decide to talk about, even around your phone. So when these kids get on there and this happens and like they say, hey, I'm feeling depressed, maybe they type in something on Google or something like that. Google picks it up and then sends it over to Instagram, or they watch something a little bit too long. Then they start getting that constantly fed to them. And it's exactly what they're doing. And honestly, anybody can just lie about their age anyways on these bans. So the whole thing is just a bit weird. So CBS sets the stage with parental heartbreak. Now Fox News shows us how dangerous this courtroom battle will be for Zuckerberg himself. We've got from Fox and Friends, it says he's stepping into the lion's den. From Greg Jarrett on Mark Zuckerberg, he says taking the stand in the landmark social trial resumes, facing anguished parents and tough questions over internet media usage. Let's see.
Zuckerberg has never been warm and fuzzy in public settings. He's probably spent countless hours with his lawyers, preparing for what's going to happen today. He knows a lot is at stake. If the plaintiff wins, it would open a Pandora's box, thousands of similar lawsuits, many of which have already been filed. So this is really the bellwether. Zuckerberg will be equipped. He's not going to face any questions his lawyers haven't prepared him for. He's going to deny that his company's products are defective, and he'll draw a distinction between clinical addiction and problematic use. Head of Instagram did that last week. And Zuckerberg will emphasize how the company has more recently installed safety tools, privacy settings, content restrictions for minors. But, make no mistake, this is a hostile audience of angry, weeping moms packing the courtroom in Los Angeles. The judges warned him, knock it off. But he's stepping into the lion's den, not easy.
I will say, okay, all these parents in California that are upset over this, which I get, I understand she lost her daughter, yes, and that is horrific, and it probably has a lot to do with social media, and I'm not trying to be disingenuous here, but I will say all of this has been contrived. They've been doing this for a very long time. They know what they are doing, and it's these people design these programs to be the same way. They know what they're doing. And they're going into courtrooms and they're talking about this stuff and they're going to go out there and bring up all these use cases and everything else. But it's people. People are the problem as well. But where is the outrage from these parents about the story hours? I don't know if I could say certain words. The story hours inside the libraries where our kids go to school and they've got people dancing in front of them in outfits I wouldn't want my children to see. Where's the same outrage? Come on, you can't pick and choose these topics. You can't one day want children to be safe when they're minors on social media and then sit there and let them go to the DEI crazy alphabet soup stuff that's going on in the schools. There has to be, everybody's got to be in it. If you're in it for one, you got to be in it for everything. And these are the same people that are saying Epstein's not real. It's pretty weird. But Fox frames this as a lion's den. But the real question isn't about danger. It's about intent. And that's where this gets legally explosive. From the Media Research Center, did Mark Zuckerberg intentionally design his product to addict kids and make money off that addiction? Or is he trying to make a product that people liked and balance and risk and reward? Let's see.
Joining me now is attorney and Media Research Center Vice President of Free Speech, Dan Schneider. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. It's a high-profile day when it comes to this trial. What will Mark Zuckerberg's strategy be as he fights allegations that his platform, Instagram in this case, is intentionally addictive?
Right. You have to remember, he founded this company. He runs this company. He made most of the decisions that are at issue in this litigation. Did he intentionally design his product to addict kids and to make money off of that addiction? Or was he simply trying to make a product that kids liked, that adults liked, and trying to balance the risks and the rewards from it?
Well, I know my children go to private school, and I think homeschooling in private school is somewhere to absolutely look at. It's more like a homeschool group type thing. But I think that's where we know that my kids won't be exposed to this stuff until they're age and mentally clear enough. I think a lot of parents stick their children in front of tablets when they're a young age and they don't know what's being put in front of them. So you do that for 10 plus years. It's a product of the internet. They're not even a product of the raising anymore. But the intent question leads us straight to the courthouse steps where Zuckerberg is literally walking to billions of dollars in potential damages. Potentially, we'll see. But Dr. Sam Youssef, PhD, and a bunch of other acronyms after it, he says, breaking Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg arrives at a Los Angeles courthouse to testify in a landmark social media trial. Let's see.
Mark Zuckerberg, media mogul, has arrived at court now. You are watching this live as he gets ready to testify today in a trial that will look at his platform, Meta, Facebook, Instagram. It will look at what he has created and decide, is it addictive for children to use, and did you make it addictive on purpose?
I think there's a lot of questions that have to be answered on this. It has to be answered. I mean, we know that, the big tobacco lied for a long time. There's a lot of products out there that exist that are extremely addictive, but they're not banning those either. So what's the real thing? Is it because X and AI and all these other things are coming out where they can't really control the speech on it. And they want the only influence to come from them is from the schools and what they're allowed to do. And I think that's probably what a lot of this has to do. Same thing is happening over in Europe right now. They're trying to ban social media. It's an entire worldwide effort to do the same thing at the same time. And Keir Starmer and other people in UK and other European countries are trying to ban X and Facebook and restrict certain things like conservative viewpoints, because they don't want people coming to Jesus. They don't want people to have a personal relationship with God, because God is counterintuitive to the whole thing that they're trying to push on everybody. You guys, if you know, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So he's arrived at the courthouse, but now we need to understand what's exactly at stake. This isn't just about one company anymore. Let's see here now from Fox 11 Los Angeles. It says Mark Zuckerberg is testifying Wednesday in a major social media trial. I think that pops over to an article. I don't know if I want to pull up. Let's see. Yeah, it's more reiterating back to the same deal. So let's go back into it here. From Gunther Egelman, he says, Justin, media founder Mark Zuckerberg showed up in Los Angeles. Let's see if there's any more footage on that.
Here, Mark Zuckerberg, Meta CEO, is walking in right now. This is the first time he's actually going to take stand in trial, right? Absolutely. I mean, he's gone before Congress before, but this is a big deal.
Right, it absolutely is a big deal. But the point I was making before, there's internal information that they have
Let's listen to this, actually. He's not talking. He was asked, do you have any message to parents? He didn't answer that question. We know several parents are there who have lost children, or their children, they say, have been harmed by social media. And we know that they are there in solidarity. Thank you. Let's see what happens.
Excuse me, we better walk. Excuse me, we gotta walk, okay? Excuse me. Move out of the way. Keep clear. Keep clear.
So far, he's choosing to stay silent.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably his smartest move. All sorts of weird things happening out there. The courtroom drama reaches its peak, but the real story is how the single trial could reshape social media forever. So let's see here. The trial could change the way all of us interact with social media in the future. And hopefully it does. And I hope to God, if they're going to settle this in court, in a California court, it's going to be a small trial. It's not a small trial. It's a big deal that happens. But there's a couple of court cases in Texas that are coming out about them censoring out conservative viewpoints. And when all you get is these constant attacks and things that feed the algorithm that's pushing these kids in these directions, and adults too. I've got friends that are impacted significantly from what they see online. And it's a constant thing that just reinforces itself. The more you watch something, the more you talk about it, the more you comment on those, the more you're going to see. And it thinks these kids, they get stuck in these algorithmic loops. They don't know how to get out of it. And that's all they see. It just permeates their brain. It's so sad. Let's watch.
All that said, what do you think the ruling will be?
Well, we've got 6 weeks of trial to go.
That's right. Maybe a little too premature.
The whole case could weigh exactly today on what Mark Zuckerberg says and doesn't say.
But free speech is so important to you. So are there any implications regarding free speech if the plaintiff does get what she wants when it comes to this?
Right. So the Instagram CEO did testify the other day that he's trying to balance the risks of addiction with free speech rights. And that is why policymakers in D.C. should have been addressing these issues. Instead, we're going to leave it up to a jury in California.
And on the legal front, because you are an attorney, you mentioned two notable details on this trial involving tiers and suits and the contrast between them. Can you explain that? I thought it was pretty interesting.
Well, this case is a bellwether landmark case. And in California, a bellwether case is a term of art. It's like a class action suit. And how this case goes will, in fact, address how future cases in California and the rest of the country go.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, you know, there's a young girl at the center of this case. Final question to you. If she does win here, what happens? Is she asking for a monetary amount?
Well, the plaintiff's attorneys are seeking both monetary damages and changes to the operating structures of these companies. And again, this will change the way all of us interact with social media companies in the future.
And could go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Dan, thank you so much for joining us ahead of this big day in California. We very much appreciate it.
I think whatever the resolution of this, it's going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. It's pretty clear that what they're doing intentionally. And I think there's a lot to be said on that narrative for it. But it's also, they can control the algorithm. They can change things. They can see what you see. They can pick and choose what you see. They can tell you if you guys are even going to see the stream tonight or any of the videos that we put out. All of this is controlled by algorithms that are being made by people we have no knowledge of. It could be AI. It could be some guy that's doing that. It could be somebody with an agenda. And a lot of times it's an agenda. And I think they're pushing these things on children, including some of the self-harm and some of the depressing stuff, because the kids get stuck in those ruts. They might look at something, they might talk about it, and then they just keep getting it shoved down their throat where they think that is their only way out. And it's sad, and it's not your only way out. There's people, there's so much help and resources out there. They need to push that a lot better. So the smoking gun in this, the internal meta research showing that they studied addiction patterns in minors and doubled down on all of this anyways. While Zuckerberg claims this should be handled by policymakers in D.C., he spent millions of dollars lobbying those same politicians. Now he's facing real parents, real grief, and real consequences in a courtroom where his money and influence cannot buy him immunity. But this trial represents something bigger than just big tech accountability. It's about whether American families can get justice when corporate giants harm their children. For too long, Silicon Valley has operated like they're above the law, protected by their own political donations and revolving door relationships with all the regulators that are in there. But grieving parents don't care about Zuckerberg's net worth or his congressional testimony theatrics. They want answers, and they deserve them. I'm a parent. I deserve them. If you're a parent, we deserve those same answers too. Because our children eventually will be on these systems. And we have to know if it's safe, if they're going to push them in a direction. And we have to know if our kids are depressed, there's a safety net there to help them in those times. And we should be the first line of that, but sometimes we just don't know. And the fact that he stayed silent when he was asked about these families shows you exactly where his priorities lie. So tell me this, do you think big tech executives should face real legal consequences when their platforms harm children, even with them knowing it? Let me know. And while you're at it, guys, check out the Next News merchandise shop and support Next News with pride.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.